Come on, Lego, you're not allowed to make this video. You made a video a few days ago talking about how the Oilers are screwed. Because of that, you're not allowed to celebrate and make videos talking about how happy you are to see the Oilers do well. Screw off, Lego, we've written you off as an EDM hater till the end of time. Unfortunately, even though that is the opinion that some of you might have out there, I still want to make this video because who knew? We have at least 1 or 2 stars on Canadian teams that show up to play in Game 7. Sorry, not sorry, Toronto. I know it was a good game. You can watch the video I made about that game. But when it comes to Edmonton and LA, Game 7 over here, this was sort of cathartic for somebody that was A, watching hedonistically because my bracket had Edmonton beating LA in 6, but B, also just a fan of watching hockey and knowing the stories involved. Edmonton was a powerhouse. For all intents and purposes, they were a team that's supposed to be able to go far, and everybody kind of knows that they've been in this bubble like Toronto has been for the past few years. I know the Oilers beat the Sharks in round 1 in 2017, but that was a while ago, it was half a decade ago, so it has been about time for the Oilers to finally overcome their demons. They get swept by Winnipeg last year, they lose in the play-in series to Chicago of all teams in 2020. This was supposed to be the time when Connor McDavid just casually, and I'm going to say casually because sure, he put up 100 whatever points he did this season, but nobody was really talking about it because it's Connor McDavid, you expect him to do that. You have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, you have Mike Smith, who was given all the trust in the world to be the guy here for Edmonton. And boy, oh boy, do I want to give a big shout out, a big bravo, a big clap, 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 because my gosh, Mike Smith did his job here in Game 7. Say what you want about the Edmonton Oilers and Mike Smith having his turnovers, his gaffes, and his bad moments. When he turns on, and my gosh, he proved that he's better than Jonathan Quick. Okay, no, I'm not going to say that. I mean, the guy is 40, Quick is 36. These guys had that showdown in 2012, I believe it was, a decade ago. My gosh. But Mike Smith showed up, Mike Smith came to play, and when it really got down to how exactly the Oilers needed to play to beat an LA team that has gotten so far, they really did show up in the best way possible. Now, before we continue on with that, I just wanted to give my congratulations to the LA Kings as well, because, my gosh, I know I have a lot of Kings fans that tune into these videos. I make videos about your prospects once in a while and your trade rumors, and it's always so endearing to my heart seeing the Kings fan base interact in the chat, because I get comments from Sabres fans, Blue Jackets fans, all these other fans around the NHL, but it's always the Kings fans that come through and really make me feel loved as a content creator. It's always, oh, thank you so much, Lego, for making a video about this prospect we have. Thank you so much for talking about our news, because there aren't too many people that do that on the internet and in this space. So thank you for acknowledging the Kings and giving us your time. Well, I say thank you to you too, because the LA Kings fan base has been very, very kind and warm to me. So I wanted to give my props as well. The LA Kings were not supposed to be here. They weren't. This was supposed to be Vegas's playoff spot. In fact, you could debate that Calgary's spot in the postseason was supposed to be Vegas's spot. Vegas ultimately dropped out because Vegas is mismanaged. They're supposed to be the Golden Knights, more like fool's gold. Am I right? Am I right? LA found themselves in the postseason this year. And against all odds, they beat out Vegas, they beat out Vancouver, they beat out other teams that I think a lot of people were sort of thinking would be better than LA this season. Winnipeg had a down year. Of course, you have everybody else, but when it comes to those California teams, LA took a stranglehold on the Pacific Division, forced themselves into a best-of-7 series with Edmonton, and Todd McClellan, against his old protege, his kohai, if you want to say, went out there and deployed a system that was so effective, and it worked. Philippe Deneau, defensive shutdown monster. Anze Kopitar and all the skill that he has. Troy Stecher and Alex Edler. What an elite pairing these guys are. The LA Kings played a system that got them to Game 7, and that in itself, against an Edmonton team that was supposed to be as good as the Oilers can be, is impressive. No matter whether or not the Kings won in Game 7 or they lost in Game 7, the fact that they were at Game 7, they got things this far, and they put the pressure on McDavid and Draisaitl that there was legitimate doubt amongst everybody, myself included, that Edmonton would be able to pull this out, even though they're the team that was supposed to be able to do it. The fact that LA forced that is impressive. So good job, LA, for doing what it is that they did. Unfortunately for them, though, it results in a Game 7 defeat. 2-0 at the hands of Cody Ceci and Connor McDavid. In a game where, honestly, I'm giving the bravo to Mike Smith, and I do think he definitely deserves it. But this game was one where I think the Edmonton Oilers deserved to win it by a pretty significant margin. They just kept on putting the pressure on and on and on. I give my bravos out to Mike Smith. I also give a bravo to Jonathan Quick because, man, that guy is an absolute monster. His lateral mobility might not be what it was 10 years ago, but boy, can that guy still stop a hockey puck. And he showed off in this entire series that his ability to do that was so good to the point that Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they really did need to put their best foot forward if they wanted a chance to win this series. I'm not going to go out there and give my same bravos to Draisaitl and McDavid because, come on, who really needs that at this point? Draisaitl playing while hurt, okay, he goes out there and he gets some points. Very nice for him. Connor McDavid shows off why he's the best player in the world. Everybody kind of knows how good McDavid and Draisaitl are. So just seeing how things went in this game, where the only 2 goals, the first one scored by Cody Ceci of all people. Yeah, Cody Ceci was the game-winning goal on this Edmonton versus LA Game 7. Imagine that, eh? Going from Toronto, whiffing on that crazy shot in the Columbus series, being the scapegoat for a lot of bad Toronto defensive play, eventually getting sent over to Edmonton, and now you score a game-winning goal off of Connor McDavid's assist right in front? Must be an amazing feeling for Cody to go out there and actually have this amount of success. I'm laughing, but it's only because of the stories and the context involved. It's tough, right? Seeing the Cody Ceci from before try to do what it was that he was doing, and seeing him now, good on him. And then Connor McDavid in the third period ends up going end to end, and he forces a goal. It's sheer power of will, getting around Sean Durzi. Durzi ends up hooking McDavid, and instead of continuing to defend, Durzi just stops behind the net, looks at the referee, and Connor McDavid is able to just walk around, try another chance in front. It gets blocked. On a third attempt, he finally backhands it over Jonathan Quick. That's it. 3 minutes to go. 2-0 Edmonton. You could see McDavid celebrating. That's like the third time he smiled in his life. So, Connor McDavid finally goes out there, gets himself an absolutely beautiful goal to seal things off in this 2-0 game. And it's been kind of a point of contention as well that even though you have some really good performances, I've called out Mike Smith, I've called out the team, I said they were screwed a few days ago because they were down 3-2, and then they lost Nurse, but guess what? They still went out there and they won? Connor McDavid has been a man-possessed the past few games here, and anybody that's been watching these games and looking at how he determines shifts, how he forces shifts to go his way, it's an absolute treat to watch. And this guy, he's in the prime of his career, Draisaitl, prime of his career. I think they finally deserve it. They deserve a second-round opportunity. I would have said the same thing about Toronto had they made the second round. They do deserve a second-round appearance. They had deserved the game, I think, earlier tonight, but Vasilevsky just kind of stood at his head, and Tampa, as we said in the video earlier today, they just played a style that was so reminiscent of, okay, just shut it down. Just make sure they don't get into the middle and they stay to the outside because we can block all the shots that are coming the goaltender's way. For Edmonton, though, good on you guys. I feel great seeing this go down because I am wanting to see a Battle of Alberta. I did have Edmonton going to the second round of my bracket, so if anybody's going to go out there and say that I'm not allowed to make videos about the Oilers winning because I made the video talking about how you're screwed a few days ago, hey, it was all contextual. It was all panic for the reason and sake of panicking, and I think a lot of people went out there and shared that same sentiment. So talk to me in the comments all your thoughts about the LA Kings, the fact that they made it this far, the Edmonton Oilers for winning in Game 7, Connor McDavid and Cody Ceci for getting on the board, Mike Smith for out-dueling Jonathan Quick in a goaltending battle that was absolutely filled to the brim with crazy saves and crazy opportunities. How good do you think Mike Smith is going to be in the second round against either Calgary or Dallas, defensively minded teams? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.